little girl stood at the entrance of the towering glass building, the early morning sun reflecting off its surface and catching the rhinestones embroidered on her apron. She drew a sharp breath, clutching the edges of the uniform that belonged to her mother, who she hadn't seen in days. The crisp white collar felt strange against her small neck, the skirt stiff beneath her thin fingers. She had watched her mother put it on every morning, the way she pinned her badge just so, the professional air she carried as she walked through these doors. Today it was her turn. She stepped forward, her heart pounding loud enough that she was sure the guards would hear it. She reminded herself of the reason she was here, a desperate hope twisting in her chest, a wish to glimpse the man who had the power to change her life. She remembered the rumors that floated through her neighborhood, whispers of a young billionaire who frequented this building. He had built vast fortunes, created foundations for children in need, and yet no charity would touch her own case. If only she could get through these doors, maybe, just maybe, she could find him and tell him her story. The security scanner chimed as she approached. The guard, a stout man with a neatly trimmed mustache, peered down at her with surprise. She straightened her back, trying to look older, more confident than she felt. I'm here for my first day," she said, voice trembling. "I'm Maria's daughter." He looked at the badge pinned to her chest. Maria Delgado, housekeeping. Floor 45. Shift A. The guard frowned briefly, glanced at the line of identical badges next to his console. He tapped the screen, then handed her the entry card without another word. She exhaled and slipped past. The lobby stretched out before her, polished marble floors, art sculptures on pedestals, and a grand staircase that spiraled up to the mezzanine. She walked quickly, heels clicking loudly on the floor, the hallways narrowing until she reached the bank of elevators at the far end. Inside the car, glass walls offered a dizzying view of the city as the elevator whirred upward. At each floor, people dressed in designer suits entered and exited: executives, assistants, an occasional janitor or delivery man. Maria's daughter pressed the button for 45, hands shaking. When the doors opened, she stepped out into a corridor, lined with offices. A maid's cart stood in the corner, neatly stocked with cleaning supplies. A kindly-looking woman with graying hair caught her eye. "You must be Maria's child," she said softly, adjusting her glasses. "I'm Miss Kelly. Maria's been taken ill. She left you in charge. If you need anything, let me know." The girl nodded, swallowing. She took the cart's handle and began down the hall, pushing it so the wheels hummed across the floor. She paused outside room 4503, the office suites where the top executives worked. The door was ajar. Soft voices drifted out. Inside, the billionaire sat behind a massive walnut desk, his sleeves rolled up to the elbows. Papers were strewn everywhere, and two men in tailored suits stood on the other side of the desk, leaning forward, reviewing spreadsheets. He looked up as the girl approached, as though he sensed her even before he saw her. She froze at the threshold, the cart half pulled inside. Her heart pounded so fiercely she worried he could see it through her blouse. He was even more imposing than she had imagined: broad shoulders, dark hair slightly tousled, eyes sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses. He studied her calmly. "Excuse me," she whispered. "I'm sorry to interrupt." He raised an eyebrow, but waved a hand to the other men, dismissing them. He left, closing the door behind them. The girl stood alone with him in the silent room. "Come in," he said quietly. "You're Maria's daughter?" She swallowed, stepping forward. "Yes, sir. I came to help her. She's not feeling well, and I wanted to surprise her by filling in." He leaned back, steepling his fingers, a noble gesture. She didn't know what to say next. She looked down at the cart dust cloths, empty spray bottles, rags folded perfectly. She bit her lip. I wanted to ask you, sir," she said, voice small, "about the scholarship program." His expression shifted, intrigued. The scholarship program? For a moment, she wondered if she'd imagined the rumors, but she forced herself to continue. "There's an application period. My school, we can't afford tuition next year. I thought maybe—" He sat up, leaning forward. "You're interested in applying?" She nodded fiercely, relief and fear flaring through her veins. "Yes, sir." He studied her face. Then he smiled. "Very well. You'll have 5 minutes to tell me why you deserve it." Her eyes widened. 5 minutes? I can do that. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a leather director's chair. "Sit." She took the seat, cart forgotten. He rose and walked behind her, resting a hand on the back of the chair. "Begin." She inhaled deeply. "My name is Sofia Delgado. I'm 12 years old, and I am the oldest of 3 children. My mother works here, and after school, I help her clean rooms and run errands. We live in a small apartment near the edge of town, where the factories puff smoke into the sky. I love my family, but we struggle. Some nights we have rice and beans, other nights just water and a prayer. But I've always believed that if I work hard, I can change our lives. On top of my class, even with the lights out most nights when we have to save on electricity. I volunteer at the library, tutoring younger students for no pay because I know what it's like to be left behind. I want to study engineering so I can build machines that help people, machines that clean water and power homes. But I can't do it without help." He listened, silent, his hand moving thoughtfully across the fabric of the chair. When she finished, she expected him to dismiss her, to send her back to dusting shelves. Instead, he nodded. 5 minutes well used, he said. "I'll have my assistant send you the application details. And if you're as promising as you sound, we may waive all fees." Sophia stared at him, disbelief and joy rising in her chest. "Thank you, sir." He smiled, tipping his head. "Thank you for coming here today." She gathered the cart and backed toward the door, stunned. As she reached the corridor, he called after her, "Sophia." She paused and turned. "Would you be interested in shadowing my team next week? Just to see how we work?" Sophia's smile lit her face. "Yes, sir. I would be honored." He nodded. "Good. And Sophia?" "Yes." He paused, then added, "I have a daughter your age. She could use a friend who understands hard work. Bring her by when you come in." Sophia's heart leapt. "I will." She left the office on air, pushing the cart as though it weighed nothing. The guard at reception barely recognized her as she passed, her uniform now seeming less heavy. That night, she rushed home clutching an envelope embossed with the company's logo. Her mother was sitting at the table, head in her hands, tears staining her cheeks. Maria gasped when Sophia burst through the door, waving the envelope. "They said yes." Sophia cried. "They're going to send the application. They might waive the fees, and he invited me to shadow him." Maria stood, pulling her daughter into a tight embrace. "Oh, Mia, I'm so proud of you." Sophia looked up at her mother's tired face and vowed that from this day on, nothing would hold them back. Over the next weeks, Sophia balanced schoolwork, home chores, and her new shadowing schedule. She arrived at the skyscraper in her mother's uniform each morning and removed the apron before joining the team in the conference room. The billionaire Mr. Alexander Drake took her under his wing, explaining financial models, introducing her to engineers designing water purification systems, and even letting her sketch designs on a whiteboard. She learned the power of spreadsheets and presentations, the importance of asking questions, and the art of patience when deals stalled. Alexander watched her progress, impressed by her determination and eagerness. On the day the scholarship application deadline arrived, Sophia stood outside Alexander's office once more. He greeted her with a grin. "Let's see if you shine." Inside, he gave her an envelope thicker than the first. "You've been awarded a full scholarship to the university of your choice, plus a stipend for living expenses," he said. "And I'd like to offer you an internship here next summer." Tears filled her eyes. "Thank you, sir. I don't know what to say." He shook his head. "Just one thing." She leaned in. "Keep working hard." In the years that followed, Sophia excelled in her studies. She became an engineer dedicated to sustainable technology, always remembering the day she walked into that office wearing her mother's uniform. Alexander watched her rise through the ranks of his company, proud of the young woman she became. On the anniversary of her first day, Sophia brought her own daughter, now 6 years old, to the same entrance. She knelt down, pinning a small name, badged to her apron. "You're going to do great things," she whispered Dot, and her daughter smiled, heart pounding, ready for her own turn at the door.